Hi everyone. Sorry we ran a bit late again. Big Amish, how are you?
Hi, Wendy. Doing great, and especially being here with you.
Always great to have you. Thank you so much for being on the stream again. So
We
yeah,
make a
wow.
great team.
It's we always do. And we always make everybody wait for us. Like we're queens. Like I'm the queen. Sorry guys. Okay, who's here? Let's see who's here. Um Jeff, I see you were here earlier. So thank you for waiting. Sorry to keep you guys. All right. Let's see who we've
Oh,
got.
you,
Um, Hi Jeff, I hope you're well. And Linda, I hope you're well. I just got your message. I'll respond to you. Big Amish, you also here. Jeff. And take it easy, Grams. How are you? I hope you're well. Thank you for your comments on Big Amish's video. So we have that video. I hope it's the right one. So I thought this video with what was the one? Chris Cuomo and Bryan Entin.
yeah, I think that.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so he's obviously discussing this, and we're gonna watch what he has to say. He's quite an interesting character, isn't he, Big Amish?
Yes, both of them actually. They're both very interesting. But yeah, Chris Cuomo and Brian Entin. But Chris Cuomo has a long history of political involvement from his family side. His father was
Mm-hmm.
governor of New York, and his brother happened to fall in the same category and was pushed to the forefront during the pandemic in New York State, and their policies on the Cove issue.
Oh, that,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So, yeah, we were speaking about that as well. From what I know, I don't know too much about them, but what's his brother's name? I think it's Andrew, right?
yes. Andrew, yeah, Andrew Cuomo, and his father is I think he passed away, Mario, but yes, Andrew Cuomo.
So, wasn't he involved in some scandal? I think, as far as I know, there were some documents that were released by the New York Attorney General's office that he acted. Well, I think it was Chris that acted as a strategist and advisor to his brother.
Yes, that is
There was
true.
some SA charges. Thomas, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Lucy, good to see you.
Yeah, hey Lucy, hello there, and Thomas.
Lucy, I can't get your name out of my mind. I've just been thinking about your name the whole day. I don't know why, it's just popping into my mind. So I'm glad to see you here. I'm glad to see all of you. But there was, yeah, it's quite interesting because wasn't Chris involved? If anybody in the chat knows, he was involved.
Yes,
Um, I think he
he,
gave his brother advice because there was some
there was an
SA allegations or something like that.
yes involving yes, and he was
Yeah.
using his position as a journalist slash commentator, news analyst, but he was using his position at the in his news position to run a gatekeeping and attack uh, through his position there. So he's using the media as a weapon and weaponized it to protect his brother. Even though he'll say, well, he's an attorney as well, but you could do both. You could be an attorney and have your separate life, but once you're running or doing things that benefit your brother politically and you're not
Mm.
disclosing it, it's kind of like the same thing. We see this all the time. It's the same MO where
They're everywhere, these
yeah, it's
uh,
it's it's the
these
same.
people, right?
Yeah.
Because I think he was. as far as I know, he was at CNN, right? And then when he got involved in all those issues with his brother, I think CNN suspended him and then they fired him at
Yeah.
some point. That's when he moved to News Nation.
Yeah, ever so slowly. Yeah, trying
Yeah.
to redefine his or reimagine his career. Yes, absolutely.
So,
Well,
yeah.
CNN, excuse me, CNN had a lot to lose because of that. And I don't know if CNN was sued because of his actions. It's kind of like a Gabby Vargas situation, but without using the feds. But we don't know if that was even used. But basically, Chris Cuomo was attacking and the person who complained about his brother. So I think there was a concerted effort to destroy this woman's reputation. So that's in a nutshell. I mean, I don't remember getting into it so much, so I don't know as much, but that's kind of it
Okay.
in a nutshell.
Wow. Okay. All right. I actually just looked it up. So that's nice that you don't see me on screen. I can look it up. So it says here that CNN was legally challenged by Chris Cuomo, who filed a massive 125 million wrongful termination claim against the network following his firing in December 2021. Um, so, uh,
So he filed
yes,
a lawsuit.
he did.
Yeah, yeah, I remember now. Yeah, he filed a lawsuit. I'm assuming that resolved
It says
itself.
here that his legal team said that CNN executives, specifically former President Jeff Zucker, were fully aware of the advice he was giving his brother and effectively scapegoated him. It's an interesting choice of words. Um, you'd think after that you wouldn't be so loudmouth.
He feels he's untouchable because let's face it, politics, you're going to have certain law enforcement that are going to be protective, especially if you protect them and what they're doing. I'm not saying they're
Mhm.
doing anything illegal, but it certainly helps when you have watchers watching over you and you could watch over them. That's kind of it's all politics. Jeff Zucker, come on, are we going to believe that he wasn't involved in politics? That's absurd to think otherwise. Of course he was.
You mentioned that his father Mario
He was the
was a
governor of New
governor.
York in the
Mhm.
what was it, 60s? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow. Okay.
uh,
So
so
there's no wonder they pulled up with the Entin. So let's say hi to everyone before we play the video. Brandy, how are you? Peggy, hi, hi, hi. Suzanne, Lucy. Let's go back and chat here quickly.
yes, hello there.
Nice to have you all. So we're doing it Thursday this week. Little bit of a change, but it's great to have you all here. Lots of things been happening now. So as you predicted, Big Amish.
Yeah, we have the pro se filing, and I know everyone was talking about amending it, and you do that down the road. But the importance I always felt of having a pro se filing is that liberal construction, and it turns out to be true of how Judge Hippler viewed the affidavit and filing of BK. Um, so the liberal construction of the rules and claims is a benefit to someone who files pro se, basically an individual representing themselves. If an
Mhm.
attorney had filed it, we would not have had the same outcome. I don't think there's any chance of that happening. So that was the whole point of looking at strategy and him filing it in that capacity. People were making fun of him and all these things, but knowing how a judge has to handle that, especially when he gave witnesses. I mean, there were two issues that three issues really. The IAC claim, Ann Taylor, who would have to testify. So he couldn't just throw out the claim because he knew that Ann Taylor would be a witness. So he knows that Ann Taylor's a witness, but for the stage of filing for the PCR, it's just whether what's submitted, if you take everything submitted by BK as true, does it provide a plausible claim to a reasonable person? And just use that kind of standard. And the answer would be yes, because he's identifying the witnesses, his family being witnesses to the trickery. You have Ann Taylor being a witness as well. And you have the IAC claim. I mean, the withholding of evidence or not being, that he didn't know about, that being the hair, the clump of hair. So he laid out enough, just enough, under a liberal construction to find that these claims, if true, and these witnesses testify, that he could support a claim. And that's how the court basically ruled, in my opinion. That's what happened. And I also think that Hitler realizes his conflicts. So him doing anything different would show a bias again, which I totally believe is coming in probably the next 2 weeks. A motion to recuse, disqualify Hitler is coming. So that's what I believe is happening. And if that happens, it changes the delay maker. You're going to have to deal with that motion first, right? So that's what is going to spark a whole different aspect and view of Judge Hitler and the case. Now, the only caveat that I see is that behind the doors, there's some sort of negotiation occurring in which the state and defense counsel are looking to, and this is just a long shot, but I believe it's something that you have to discuss. And that is, if they come up with a stipulated agreement that a Brady violation occurred, i.e. withholding of exculpatory evidence, which identified in the affidavit, and basically Hitler has he does have a choice to agree with it or not, but I think it provides the perfect groundwork to resolve all the issues and everyone gets their reputation back. That's what I foresee is happening, but I don't know. I give that based on every problem that's in this case, I actually give it a 50% chance that that's actually happening. So then the judge just basically rules that on the stipulation and orders that stipulation that there was a Brady rule violation, and he vacates the plea based on it. Now they would have to spell out what the Brady rule violation was. It could be the hair, could be other things as well. But in my opinion, it's going to be very narrow if there is a stipulated agreement, and it would probably be the hair. So everyone basically gets their reputations back. Judge Hitler also, despite him wearing dual hats in his erroneous errors, but that's how I view a solution to this whole problem is through a stipulated agreement for Brady violation.
And we were talking a little bit before that. If you want to just quickly touch on that, was somebody who commented about the 702 rule.
Oh, well, okay. Well, in federal rules, so basically federal rule 702 is for expert witnesses where they could testify based on their expertise. And so Idaho, every state has their own state rules, but they basically follow the federal rules. There's exceptions to that. 702 on their experts, you could have there's some nuances to it a little bit, but basically it's having an expert who's qualified being able to testify. My whole point in a 602 is they're fact witnesses, they're lay witnesses, where they could testify to something that is an issue in the case. And so my whole point in bringing up the plan of the experts in filing or going public with their statements and their books is that they're exposing what happened at the trial level or the impact the 68 terabyte dump had on the defense team individually and on BK's rights. So they are fact witnesses. They happen to be experts in different areas, but they're also fact witnesses now. And fact witnesses do not have to have those qualifications. They don't have to be limited by having certain designations and producing certain documents to satisfy the state. They could appear, use their books, or just their testimony is enough without having to produce an expert report. That's the whole point. You bypass all that nonsense. Well, it's not really nonsense, but they could give their own testimony as to the impact of either rulings or the withholding of evidence, and certainly the 68 terabyte dump. So,
yeah, sorry, I just wanted to address that because I know our person who challenged you on the 602 rule doesn't seem to understand that it asks whether a witness has personal knowledge of what they're testing about or
yeah,
testifying
that's
about.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the person, they're a lay witness. It's a fact witness. It's like seeing a car accident happen before your eyes, and you happen to be a doctor. You mean to tell me you can't, if you see someone's bone snap or an injury, you can't use your medical background if someone asks you that question? If you had that personal knowledge on that injury, certainly you could. You happen to be an expert, but you're also a fact witness. So it's like a hybrid again. It's a hybrid witness. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much, but it's a great learning tool for people to understand how you can be a hybrid witness, where you're an expert at one point, you're now a fact witness for something totally different but related. So,
Okay, before we play the video, let's just check here. Take it easy said, apparently Hitler is advising that this process will be held to Idaho rules of evidence for a civil matter.
what's that? Advising this probably will be held. Yeah, of course. It is a civil matter. Of course, it's 100% a civil matter. So advising this will be held. Yes, but don't. Yeah, let's not get mixed up on Idaho rules. They're basically the same. There's a little nuance, but they're basically the same. The fact is that Cy-Ray, whether you like them or not, Turvey, whether you like them or not, Wickham, whether you like them or not, are lay witnesses. They're fact witnesses to the impact of what they reviewed on the case and involving BK's rights. That's what the issue is. So let's not get carried away with what rules of evidence are. I mean, that's long far away, but the fact is these individuals certainly could play a role at the evidentiary hearing or provide affidavits even before without having to do expert reports. That's the whole point. So they're not retained experts. They're fact witnesses who happen to have expertise in certain areas. So
yeah, and Peggy, I agree with you. He definitely was framed. He was framed before the crime even occurred. That's just my thoughts. And then Linda said, A.R. Hayes, I don't know who that is, has written to the Innocence Project, but Hitler blocked them. Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true. But, and just to add, 602, Federal 602 has been adopted by Idaho, if I'm not mistaken. So there's no difference. It's adopted Federal Rule 602. So that's what it is. So I think I just want to be clear.
All right. Do you want to, let's see what these guys have to say. I hope Entin doesn't fall asleep again.
Well, let's see what we got.
Yeah, Grams, it's going to be very interesting. You're going to see there's a lot of things going to happen at this point. in the next few months. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to add this video.
And the importance of disqualifying or recusing Judge Hippler now before you amend the pleading. So, and that's why in my opinion, amending the petition would have been a mountain of a failure, because you would be potentially waiving any conflict Judge Hippler had in the case, because you're now going on to other issues and amending the petition. So the first thing you have to do under the Idaho rules is you have to expeditiously address any conflicts as soon as you can. And that's why it's imperative to do that before you engage in amending pleadings or other motions. You have to address the elephant in the room, and that is Judge Hippler.
Mhm.
And like I said, or it's waived, in my opinion. And it would be waived on so even after the PCR level, let's assume it goes to federal habeas. If that's waived, imagine how that would affect on a federal habeas review, that you waived those issues regarding Hippler by not addressing it. So I think everyone sees the importance of addressing the recusal disqualification of Judge Hippler immediately. There's no reason to wait. And by operation of law, once you file a PCR and the appearance of Mr. Rausch, the entire file, including July 2nd, 23rd, every order in the case is actually sent to Rausch. It's kind of like an appeal where you pay the appellate fees and you file it. The court of the clerk basically binds all the underlying entries and documents that have been filed in the case, and that's submitted to the appellate court. Well, the same thing happens here. It goes to opposing counsel as well. I mean, to defense counsel, but it gets sent up and is part of the record. So that's done by operation of law. And so I just want to make sure everyone knows that these documents, the underlying documents, are being gathered, if not already, and already sent to Mr. Rausch. And it goes into the record for Judge Hippler. So that's why it's imperative, in my opinion, to remove Judge Hippler due to his conflicts at the plea and before. Otherwise it's waived. So want to be clear on that.
Thank you for that. All right, let's play. You just tell me if you need me to stop, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff, I always appreciate your inputs. Remember that car, and I think the Garmish can clear this up. Edie, how are you? I haven't forgotten about your video. I've still got it here. It's on my list. Probably play that next week. I was gonna ask you to be around so you can explain what's going on that video. But thank you. I have saved it. I have got it saved still. Begamish, that vehicle, right? It's never been determined. I think we should do a video on the vehicle, right? Because according to the MPD reports, the patrols that I looked at, there were many vehicles passing at that exact same time that were, in fact, law enforcement vehicles.
Yep. No, I think you're right. That would be a great video.
So if you look at the MPD reports, that's pretty much, and as I'm saying, no disrespect. I like Jeff a lot. It is a good point you raise, but that would have, and I think the Garmish can clear this up. I mean, that car is not evidence in of itself, because, and I think we'll keep that for a separate video, but what I'm saying is that vehicle would have been up to a jury to decide if that was his vehicle or not.
Right. There's clearly the first bolo goes out. It's a 2011 to 2013 Elantra. Then they expand it, they change it time afterwards.
Yeah.
So now Now you're talking of thousands and
Be-
thousands of
before
vehicles.
that,
Yeah.
before that, it was a Nissan.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ambiguity of what it was. And clearly
Mhm.
there's no evidence, and this is what Jeff should realize. There is not one video that shows Bryan Kohberger or anyone resembling Bryan Kohberger in an Elantra in and around 1122 King Road or even in Moscow or anywhere. Show me one video placing BK in a white Elantra at any point. Show me one video. And you mean to tell me
Just wanted, yeah,
that
just wanted to touch on that. That's what I'm saying. Just interesting. I asked a few people that don't even really know about this case because there's a lot of people in this country, for example, that don't know about the case. And I thought, okay, let me ask some people, can you tell me what car this is? And I showed them various footage. So these are people that really aren't even really interested in the case. They have nothing to gain. And everybody told me, you know what? This we can't make out even what car it is.
yeah.
And in fact, if you go and look, and we'll do this next time, the car at the house, those are three different cars. That it's not even the same vehicle.
Yes. Yeah, no.
So
And the grainy footage. Let's just we made fun of the grainy footage. We watched people disappear, disintegrate like they were transported on Star Trek. I I mean, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, so how could you trust the videos of what we're actually watching
mhm.
and who maintains it? I mean, I have a lot of questions on that. That would be a great live to do just separately, where I could then dig into all the issues surrounding the maintenance or the recordings, how they're maintained, who possessed them at different times, or were they always possessed by MPD?
Was the car possessed by a demon?
Yeah.
I mean, we stay here in South Africa, which is pretty much like a dumpster country compared to America. And if you see a car driving down the road, that footage is clear. You know, when they, because we've got cameras up here, and so if somebody's driving down the road and they send a message on the group, you can see exactly what car it
Sure,
is.
sure.
But on that footage, it's like it was deliberately blurred.
Yes,
And
I would agree with you on that. That's what it seems like. Are you manipulating, removing it, time missing, or whatever they're doing certainly raises questions of the integrity and veracity of MPD or whoever's giving that footage because you can't trust it. And I'm just being objective. And I think if we're all being objective, you have to ask yourself with all the cameras that are around, and we're not talking about home cameras, but even them, but there are cameras around the university at different
Mhm.
poles. I'm positive. And they, whether they're, um, and even at WSU, you mean to tell me there's not any footage of Bryan Kohberger getting in and out of a vehicle? That's mind-boggling. I don't believe it. That doesn't
I
pass.
think
No.
they can't because remember he got into that house, so technically he doesn't have arms and legs. He's able to pull them into his body and just in, and he does the same with the car. I mean, he doesn't need hands and legs to drive that car because, like Nancy said, he was in the house and he was in the car at the same time.
Yeah, and yeah, not one, no DNA of any of the victims in the vehicle or any blood, even of his own in the vehicle. Not even of
Yeah.
Bryan Kohberger's blood. Not even a sign of any diluting agent was found in the vehicle. So the car wasn't cleaned up, yet the crime scene was clean, according to Dr. Turvey. And there was
Mhm.
a cleaning agent, a diluting agent involved. So that's what we know. At least it could be reasonably inferred. What we know is that no evidence, any DNA, blood, We're talking of physical DNA, not the skin cells, which has its own issues, but no blood or fluid of BK anywhere, even in his own vehicle. Well, or the victims. They didn't find any victims' blood or DNA, blood, saliva in the vehicle. And you would think that that type of event involving so many blows and strikes, that his hands were grabbing the steering wheel or touching carpet or touching the seats somewhere, wherever he's placing his clothes that were all bloodied, wherever he's putting them, somehow would have something somewhere, but it didn't.
Yeah, so that's a video for a different day because I actually would like to show you guys. If you sit and look at that video, you can actually see there's one part of the video where you can actually see that they manipulated the video. It's even better than the ghost video we watched. So guys, remind us. Linda, I did respond to you. Thank you, thank you. Hi everyone. All right, so let's play this. Let's see what these two have to say.
Okay. All right.
Maybe Entin
Hey,
will.
JJ.
Oh, no, I've got the wrong one, but let's play this one and then I'll play the other one.
Cat conspiracy. Yeah, play this. Here's a
Okay.
cat conspiracy right here.
Depending on the ruling on the hearing that was going on today, Bryan Kohberger, the case may fall apart. And here's why. Now, you know the backstory. The 4 Idaho college students, 2022, brutally murdered. Kohberger and his defense team are trying to get the DNA evidence against him, which is really, really important in this case, thrown out. Why? Well, when you look at the DNA, the evidence that was developed with it on the knife sheath found at the murder scene, it's crucial to connecting him, right? So you have to put the murderer in the room. What basis did the defense have for getting the key evidence out? Well, that comes down to the type of technology that was used, and they are arguing it violated his rights. Do they have a shot? Let's bring in trial attorney Misty Maris. Explain their complaint, my friend, and the strength of it.
Yeah, Chris, this is a very consequential hearing, and this is really going to lay the framework for what we see play out at trial. So here's the challenge by the defense. First is an argument based on the Fourth Amendment right to illegal search and seizure. So what the defense is saying is that Kohberger's rights were violated when this type of technology, methodology called investigative genetic genealogy, was used to link him to the crime scene. Important to understand what that is. It's when an item is found at a crime scene, DNA is extracted, and that DNA profile is uploaded into these public ancestry websites. From there, investigators can develop a family tree. And then that family tree, they look at geography, the type of profile of the person they're looking for. Right. And then they basically have something pointing to a potential suspect. That's what happened here. So everything stemmed from the use of the genetic genealogy linking Kohberger to that knife sheath. And what the defense is saying is everything that came from that conclusion should be thrown out of the trial. And Chris, guess what that is? Every single piece of evidence, because that's what put investigators on the path to ultimately arresting Kohberger. So the argument, how strong is it? I watched the hearing. By the way, 5.5 hours were behind closed doors, but I watched the part that was public.
Whoa.
The judge wasn't buying it, and let me explain why. So first, there is no expectation of privacy when
I was playing the wrong video, but I'm glad I played it. There we go.
Yeah, no. Wow. So you're having closed door sessions. Why? The only reason why is because they're obviously discussing parallel proceedings and federal involvement. Now, I would love to know who was also behind those closed doors, any other attorney. And I'm assuming this was before Josh Hurwitz was officially placed with the prosecution as a special deputy prosecutor. This is very valuable. I would love to know if Josh Hurwitz was in these closed door sessions. That's just number one. But even if he wasn't, someone was. Probably from the Department of Justice, in my opinion. But this is what she's raising. Okay, so let's just back up a second. So technically, under the CODIS, or the DNA that you would use typically, right, has 20 markers. I guess is it alleles? I forgot the exact terminology, but there's 20 markers, DNA markers, that's used to identify specifically a
Mhm.
perpetrator, right? That's specific. A IgG search uses like 200,000 markers to help identify, and it's broad. It could be aunts, cousins, however down the line, right? Whereas
Mhm.
the narrow one is basically, it's either you or your child. It's very specific. The IgG is very, very broad, and they get all this information about you. And the terms of service was even violated, right? We know that, the backdoors. But also that Othram actually amplified and filled in the sequence using their algorithm, which again was never provided to the defense. Judge Hippler didn't allow it, and certainly didn't allow any cross-examination of any of that.
Mhm.
And the analysts doing it, or the algorithm. So there's no way testing even the veracity, quality, or even knowing the reliability of what they did, saying it's proprietary information, and that the feds were basically just, an analyst in a support role. But so we realize the manipulation of evidence. We realize that these are additional searches, whether you're using IgG and violating terms of service and going behind the door and going into databases you shouldn't. Those are separate searches, which they didn't get warrants for. Then you
Mhm.
have the manipulation of evidence, the tainting evidence. Basically, you start with 10 skin cells, and then they manipulate it. They, being Othram, manipulates it, doesn't do anything with it. They then provide it, but they manipulate the evidence enough where it could then be run and be used as for probable cause, right? I mean, they can't use it in trial, but they
Using
certainly
AI.
using AI, an AI algorithm, and I call it the Frankenstein DNA model, right? Because you don't know, out of 10 cells to get, or if you have less than 20 gene markers and to get 200,000, I mean, I don't know how much more do you need to explain that there's a mass void that has to be tested to see if it passes all the tests of due process. Is it fair? Is it reliable? Can you duplicate the testing? If you had, you don't have that ability, because Judge Hippler didn't allow it, and he knew if he would have allowed it, it would have exposed that the feds had actually ID'd Bryan Kohberger long before the state did, and this case would have been dismissed. That's what this is all about, because you needed separate, independent state probable cause of Bryan Kohberger. And if you don't have it, the Fourth Amendment is violated. And that's what Ann Taylor was going towards. But Judge Hippler did not allow it. But this is great. So I'm glad you actually played this. And I don't know if it's going to go more, but
No, this one's quite short. Let's see what she says. But yeah, that is very interesting. Thank you, Bekamish. Okay, let's
It
see
comes to
this one.
testing items found at a crime scene. The knife sheath, that test did not require any kind of warrant. The second piece is the novel argument.
there you go.
Did the investigators need a warrant to actually do that search
Oh.
on those genealogy websites?
There you go.
The judge
All right.
seems to be leaning towards no, which is what I would have expected, because it wasn't
Open
Kohberger's
source.
DNA that was on those websites.
Right.
It was a family member who voluntarily provided it and did so. So they say there's no standing.
Yeah, but they didn't want
and
law
that
enforcement to
also
search
there's a
it.
public profile, so the Fourth Amendment
Mhm.
argument is not going to apply.
Misty Maris, well handled as always. This is a big deal.
Yes.
Let's see what the decision is, because it's going to really make it challenging for them to make a case otherwise. Thank you very much, my friend. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't
Interesting that she asked that.
Yeah, no, that was very interesting. And apparently that was early on in the case, or certainly well before 2025. I don't know when that hearing actually took place off the top of my head, but very interesting, and she laid out the issues. Now, I don't think it's over, because regardless of what happens, even in Bryan's case, right, and the post conviction relief issues, the Supreme Court is taking up IGG anyway on different cases, and maybe Bryan's case could be part of that. But there's going to be a ruling that's going to be coming down. Don't know when, a year from now, 2 years from now, on IGG. And if that ruling says that you needed a search warrant, all right, and there was no good faith basis to believe, and there's exceptions to addressing warrantless searches, or if you believed in good faith that this search warrant was valid, or if what you were doing was in as a surveillance tool, that you were doing so in good faith of policies and practices of the FBI and DOJ. There's certain exceptions that allow you to get over a hump of violating due process, but it's a narrow exception. But with saying that, if the Supreme Court comes down and says IGG, if you're going to do this testing and you number one, it always catches people, the technology, as it violates the rights of individuals. So that's number one. Number two, it reins it in. It doesn't just banish it. The Supreme Court basically will come back and say, this is how you have to, if you're going to use IGG, you're going to need a search warrant. And these are the standards for it. You're going to need consent. You have to, consent from the family members, or involve the family members if you're going through that route. They're probably also going to address the trash pull and whether that's considered a second search as well, because even though trash is discarded, right, it's not like you see a bloody or a balaclava with blood on it and a K-bar knife that you could see from your own vision. That is like seeing a public view, right? You could see something, and yes, I would agree that you could take, because that you could say is reasonable suspicion of a crime. But you're looking for someone's DNA to test, to figure out, to get behind the search warrants. And that is a second search. And I don't think anyone discarding it. And I mean anyone. That means us too. This is a pivotal issue for all Americans, actually for everyone around the world, because they being Othram, and those individuals who are behind them, can basically take our garbage and be taking our DNA and creating these connections that we have no knowledge about, and knowing our health history, our relatives, and creating whatever they want to create, potentially weaponized or not, whether for good or bad. And when there's good, there's always bad. So I have
And we
huge
look at
concerns with
that DNA. I had a look at how they can, because if they're going to trace your ancestors, it's also an AI run program. So
yes.
So because well, they can't go and dig them up.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna. Yes. So that's why I have a huge concern, and I'm sure many in the chat have a huge concern of what Othram's doing, because of how it can be applied, and the issues of us individually being exposed to potential dangers that we can't even foresee yet. I'm opposed to it. There's no reason for anyone to be going through our trash to collect our DNA. Zero.
Especially without a warrant.
Especially, yeah. I mean, if there's a crime, if you have a warrant, that's a different story. But if you base it on what Judge Hippler ruled, and basically what, of course, Cuomo said as well, is your DNA pulling trash, that you put out on the side, because it's trash and you consider it basically garbage, right? And you're getting rid of it. You don't have no proprietary or property rights in it anymore. But it doesn't mean that you could use technology to be used in something that you never considered waiving. So, for example, when we pay taxes here in the United States as part of our service to our country, I guess. And part of those taxes go towards public services, trash. But if the government comes back and says, what they should say is, your garbage can be used, or we're going to sell the garbage to a third party, Othram Labs, that could look into your DNA, determine your health history and your relatives' health history, determine what you're susceptible of. And is there a possibility that some crazy company might develop some type of medicinal weapon that could be used against us? I don't think it's far-fetched, but even if I do think it's far-fetched, that getting or obtaining our DNA without our consent is what the issue is. It's not necessarily the garbage, but getting our DNA. You could go through my garbage all you want, but don't take my DNA. Find a chicken bone or a chili dog for JJ. You'll find plenty of chili dogs in there. Some buns, some old mustard, onions, and chili sauce, but that's about it. But no, seriously. But you see where my point is, Wendy, that, and I would like to know from your end, I mean, how would the people in South Africa feel that your medical history is actually being accumulated? Now they'll say, well, we're not looking into it, right? Just like every phone, every keystroke, every text that we send, every email is actually being recorded by the intelligence community. That's now they'll say they don't look into it unless there's a crime involved, right? And how they go about it. But the fact is, all of that information, massive information, is being stored. For what purpose? I don't know. There should be a limit on it. So if you haven't committed a crime, maybe, that should be destroyed. But they're collecting all that. And now we're seeing the collection of our DNA. We have our collection of our, Facebook. There's all these back doors, these violations of terms of service that the government uses to surveil us at any given moment, whether there's a warrant or not. Unless we know about it, we will never know about it, right? Unless there's a crime or somehow we stumble across it, we will never know what's really going behind those back doors. But we could use BK's case as an example for all of us, every American, to say, and everyone around the world for that matter, because it's not just here. Because if it happens
we
here,
don't have it here yet. We don't have that here yet. They haven't approved it, but over there it's very scary what they're doing.
Well, approve what? I'm talking about Othram being able to. So if someone takes your garbage, do you have any rights to it, or especially your DNA? Did you consent for your DNA to be taken when you put out the garbage in South Africa for the collection? Or is it just the garbage taken that they could recycle?
No, they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to do that.
By law, they're not allowed to? Are you saying it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would like to know more about it, because
I was
this
actually going to check that out, but as far as I know, so don't hold me on it, but
No,
I think still, I want to actually check that out, but as far as I know, they're not allowed to unless they have a warrant.
Okay.
And they wouldn't test using IgG. That I do know. It has to be
The narrow one. So so they run it through the database that's very specific. So unless you're in the database, it's not going to show it. That's what Steve G was arguing. Well, it's only, the CODIS is only relevant if you're in the system. So he's saying he basically wants to create a massive surveillance system. And I present to you, Wendy, is there an Othram, or does Othram, you might ask, has Othram maybe applied in your country to provide services to law enforcement? You might want to ask that question.
Are you talking about they found their foundation that they've got Steve G, right?
Oh, the Steve G's Foundation. Yeah, they're involved in it. They're pushing it. Now, are they going outside the US? I can almost certainly guarantee it, because that's the next step. It's got to start somewhere, right? They create the narrative that you got a crisis, at least locally, and they expand on it, right? Don't let any good crisis go to waste. So
Yeah.
that was
So, what would you? Sorry, I forgot who you were. You were asking me, can they um, can they collect it from the trash?
yes. Can a third party? So can the disposal company, whether it's a private contractor, which the government contracted with, or the government itself, can they sell your garbage, your DNA, to a third party like Othram or anyone else, because it's discarded, in which you don't know about it? It's a good question.
I don't think here in this country they can, because we don't have IgG over here, right? So I know over there what they did with this case, right?
Yeah.
It seems very, very legal, because I know over here you have to give consent. So,
But
because we've got the, like here we've got the Popular Act, right? I don't know if you have that over there.
and what's that act about? What does that hold?
It's the Protection of Personal Information Act.
Well, we have it as well, but when you discard it, so we're talking about, don't think of law enforcement. Just remove law enforcement or any crime for that matter. Let's just talk about your garbage being taken, whether it's by the government or private contractor, however they make arrangements to take your garbage, and they sell that garbage to a third party, and that third party happens to be a lab. And so they throw away your garbage, but they're also collecting from it DNA. And that company could be in the United States for that matter. Right. And so you wouldn't even know about it, what they're doing. You just know that the garbage is taken and it's sold to a third party vendor. That third party vendor happens to be in the United States. And for argument's sake, I'm going to say it's Othram Labs. It just for the sake of argument. I'm not saying I have anything to do with it. How would you know that? Because you were not going to know what Othram Labs then does with the garbage or the DNA for that matter, hypothetically. So I'm just posing to the dangers that I see and
I
why
know it's very dangerous over there. I know here when I last checked on it, in South Africa specifically. So that's why I said this case freaks me out, because here they're very strict about protecting identity. But we don't know. We wouldn't know if they did it.
Yeah.
They say, according to the law, that a company can't sell any of your data to, like, let's say, for example, to a company in the United States, right? Unless you've consented to it.
Right. But it's not data yet. It's just garbage. So if I took, let's say you had a chili dog, Jesus, and you discarded it, right? Let's just say, and you had the bun, you bit into the bun and your saliva's on it. There's no data yet, but you sell that garbage, that refuge, to a third party in the United States who buys it. Now the government of South Africa no longer knows, or whoever contracted for the garbage, they don't know what's happened to the garbage. But then in the United States, outside of the jurisdiction of South Africa, you now have these technologies that will look at that chili dog. All right. It's no longer in South Africa now. So South Africa's law doesn't even apply. And it's now discarded property. Right. It's so now you have it in the United States. and they're going to now take that chili dog and the saliva and and using AI develop that IgG family tree. Now it's turned into data after the DNA is extracted. Then you get
Yeah.
into IgG data. But because it's been removed to the United States, South Africa doesn't even know about it. South Africa law has now relinquished itself because you're now in the United States. Unless you kind of follow the chain, and I don't want to get lost in the weeds on this, but you might have rights and you should have rights, because if the intent of that third party in the United States is to take your DNA and is tricking the South African government or other
Yeah.
local governments, and they're tricking you, the citizen of South Africa, to take
They
your
they
data,
very well could. Yeah.
it's a civil lawsuit, not a criminal. It's a civil lawsuit. But again, I just find this utterly disgusting what they're doing or potentially have the ability to do, and it just concerns me to no end on this. So sorry
Wow.
if I went on a
Just
tangent.
burn your garbage.
Well,
Burn everything.
a lot of people, that's exactly what they would do, right? In rural areas, that's exactly what they would do.
It'd be a lesson for you.
But
Okay. Do you guys want to watch this one with Chris?
yeah, what do they say
Okay.
here?
Let's see what they have to say. Give me a sec. All right. Can you see it on the screen? Just make sure it is. But yeah, you do raise a good point. I mean, look, if they did that in this country, we wouldn't know about it. I wouldn't put anything past this government either. They're very
Right.
corrupt.
But just real quickly, it's happening here. And the scenario I played out with you in South Africa and Othram here, the reverse could be true. And it happens in surveillance as well, where you use companies in other countries, okay? And you use that company to surveil US citizens
Mhm.
because they're not in the US and they're not bound by US laws. And that information, technically, right? That's how they will view it. And but yet they will provide the intelligence community with information about US citizens. And that's a backdoor. So if it's not Othram Labs, just to swing this back, the reverse is true. They could take our garbage here in the United States and send it to companies. Let's use China, for example, and
Mhm.
our intelligence community using a third party vendor in China in which they have an agreement with. And I'm trying to bring up a Fauci and his how he financed the company that was used and ultimately did testing in China. But I forget the name of the North Carolina company. Anyway, my point is that companies outside the U.S. can do the dirty work for domestic law enforcement that couldn't technically, and it happens all the time. And they use intelligence companies and the like a Christopher Wickham, for example. He's a special operator. Does he get involved in other countries? I'm almost 100% positive he does. Does he relay information back to the United States? I'm almost 100% he does, or did. Maybe he's just retired, but I don't believe he's ever retired. But it's not about Christopher Wickham. I'm just simply saying how the intelligence community operates, and they do things which violate what we would consider our rights, but is done in order to assist in national security issues and protect. That's kind of the umbrella they use. But sorry if I got way off field on some of
No,
this
no, no,
stuff.
no.
And
Very
JJ
interesting.
would be great on this too. Um,
All
so
right.
yeah, that's the concern with the IgG, in my opinion, on a broader scale, why we all should have a vested interest in this.
Yeah, that is concerning. All right, let's see what he's got to say. I'm going to play this one. Can you see it on screen?
Bryan Entin weighs in on his latest reporting and how he advances our understanding of what Bryan Kohberger may have been up to before this crime and now what he's doing after it. Bryan Entin, thank you so much, as always. Some interesting updates in the Bryan Kohberger case. Let's start with the plea deal, and then we'll get to your excellent and a very detailed analysis and advancement of our understanding of the investigation into the timeline here. But what is your best reckoning so far of what is motivating Bryan Kohberger's self-authored appeal to change his plea deal?
I mean, honestly, Chris, I think boredom. That's kind of the.
They're going to come here with boredom. All right. I'm going to let it play. Hold on.
First thing that comes to mind, he's been sitting in prison in Idaho. I actually toured that prison right before the plea deal. I got an opportunity to go in the prison, kind of a last minute thing, which I hadn't been in that many prisons before. And they're like, you want to see where Bryan Kohberger is going to spend the rest of his life. And there's one maximum security prison in Idaho. It was like 40 minutes outside Boise, just in the middle of nowhere. Like I remember thinking, like, this is the last place you would ever want to spend a night, let alone the rest of your life. And he's in solitary confinement there, and it's not a pretty place at all. There was a hunger strike going on when I toured. So anyway, the point is, I think it's a lot worse than the county jail where he was up until that point. And I think that he just is realizing that he's going to be in that same building, in that same cell, probably for the rest of his life. And what does he really have to lose? And there was a deadline coming up in September where he had to file the paperwork by then. So I was kind of watching it, wondering, is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? I expected maybe it was going to be like sometime in August, but kind of came out of nowhere when he filed the paperwork. I guess it was the end of July.
What do you make of the fact that it's not through counsel?
Not surprised, because he couldn't. I mean, you would know more about this stuff than me as a lawyer, but the way I understand it, he's not going to use his lawyer who he has been using, Ann Taylor, because he's basically calling her out and trying to say she didn't do a good job. He doesn't have the money for his own lawyer, from what I can tell, although he's gotten like $10,000 into his commissary from all these, like, they call them pro-burgers, like these people who support him or whatever.
I have to stop and start. Pro burgers.
Hamburgers.
Can't they call us chili dogs?
Yeah, the chili
burgers.
Pro burgers, chili dogs. Yeah, we're all getting hungry now.
Give us like a chili burger.
Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah.
Guys, I'm not hiding comments. I don't know who's hiding comments, but don't worry about it. You don't have to.
But,
so it's quite interesting how Bryan Entin always comes with a story. He says, "Oh, he's bored."
Yeah, he's bored. He's got to, like, it was just something he did, just flipped and just decided.
Amy, that was funny as well. He has man boobs. Send me a picture of Entin. Oh, please don't.
Yeah, he would be a great Muppet.
See that? Wow. I want to see if we see them. He's hiding them away. It's quite interesting to see he's bored.
Yeah, like,
wow.
Come on, we that's ridiculous. He knows better than that. Bored. Everything that happened. That's ridiculous. He's
wow.
just disingenuous. Let's see what else he has to say about what's going on there.
He's innocent, but I don't think he hasn't had the money to hire a private attorney. So it's my understanding, I think he kind of had to do this to get the ball rolling. And now he wrote it himself. It was filed. And now the Judge Hippler, who's actually the one who oversaw the plea deal in Boise, has officially signed off on him getting another public defender, a different public defender who they just assigned. It's a lawyer from actually Moscow, Idaho, where the murders happened.
In your assessment of the pleading itself and what you've been told about it, what do people make of it in terms of its level of sophistication?
Look, Bryan Kohberger is a smart guy from what I can tell. I mean, he was getting his PhD in criminology. I mean, his handwriting was really bad the way it was written, but I have really bad handwriting too. I mean, I thought it was, again, you would be much better to talk about this than me as a lawyer. But
well, I'm glad you asked, Bryan.
Yeah. It seems somewhat sophisticated to me, but the arguments I didn't personally really buy. I mean, I went to almost every, I think only missed like one or two of his hearings, and there were so many over the course of years. And so I saw Ann Taylor, the lawyer, many, many times. And I thought she did a really, really good job for Bryan Kohberger throughout. And even like some of the victims' families, when we would be out in the hallway,
he's saying it.
They would even.
Is he part of this?
It's just flippy that he's saying that right after taking shot. I guess. I mean, it's as if the narratives are just being flipped out of the blue, making her, which I do believe she did do, a great job. It's just that she was being.
Yeah, but he said last time that she didn't.
Yeah,
He's changing. He's flip-flopping. Do you remember when he said that she didn't do a good job?
Yeah. Yes, and now he's flipped, kind of like a Cyrite thing.
Wow. Depends what his teleprompter says.
Oh yeah, he's following his teleprompter. Yeah, it could very well be he's just following, because I didn't even know this interview occurred. This brief one. He's just in his hotel room talking to Chris Cuomo. So it's kind of odd. Not that he doesn't do it. I guess he's on the road a lot, Brian Entin. But there's something. Yeah.
Oh, Suzanne, don't even get me started on Viviana. Jeff is still respectful. Viv always trolls me. I've got two really, really bad trolls, and now they're trolling Big Amish as well.
Which is fine. They could do whatever they want. I could care less.
It's quite funny. It's hilarious sometimes because they come and they don't have a. No, Vivian is very bad. Jeff. Oh, gosh, Big Amish. Viv is very bad. She's the worst.
So I could expect. Okay.
She's coming for you. She's coming for you.
Oh no. I love her just the same.
It's gonna hurt our feelings. See what they say here.
And comment like, wow, he's got a really good lawyer. I mean, the consensus among everyone there was that she was really doing a good job on his behalf. So it's kind of hard to buy now that he's trying to say ineffective counsel. So that part I don't really buy. The clump of hair that he claims he didn't know about in Ethan Chapin's hand. That's interesting. I went back and looked through the filings. I mean, it was definitely part of discovery that went to his defense team. So Ann Taylor definitely knew about it. I don't know, if she told him about it behind the scenes, but they raised everything.
If you could stop right here, what he said.
It seemed like, and she never brought that up. And it seems like it's probably Xana's.
Okay. I just wanted to comment on two things that I now see. Okay. You were talking before when you said, is he part of it? I think they've come to the realization that they've already greenlit that this is going to be, the plea is going to be vacated. That's how I'm reading this. And he said something very specific because it puts Ann Taylor in the crosshairs. And he said, Ann Taylor knew about the clump of hair. He doesn't know whether she told Bryan Kohberger that. That's exactly what was in the affidavit, kind of. But he never saw that evidence. So just taking that as true, right? And that's also why Hippler could not deny the PCR at this stage anyway, because what he's saying needs discovery. And it points to Ann Taylor right in the crosshairs. Did you provide that information of the clumped hair in Ethan Chapin's hand, or even on the wall for them or on the bedpost? Did you provide that information to BK? Now, if the answer is no, you have, that's a big problem that goes towards the ineffective assistance of counsel. In my opinion, she's not, could she say yes? Yeah. But I have a feeling that Ann Taylor is going to state the following, or something along those lines. If I think she had her own coercion. Don't forget the leaks investigation. Even though we're looking on the state, they continued it administratively and at least criminally. And Turvey said they contacted him, and he was making references that it's part of the defense team. Well, if that's true, that's coercion as well by the judge, because the judge referred whatever happened administratively as a criminal charge, I guess, to the prosecution of Ada County. So you could have coercion happening in so many different ways, and it's all relevant here. So I don't want to get far off field, but there is coercion. In my mind, there's no doubt, and I think in everyone's mind after hearing some of this, realizes the coercion on Ann Taylor, the coercion on BK, right? And how both Thompson and the judge knew that Ann Taylor was ineffective and that Bryan Kohberger was going to feign truth during his colloquy. They knew that. Thompson even admitted that. So you have a structural defect, no matter how you look at it, in the plea itself. So this is all going to unravel, unless you disagree. Or what are your thoughts about this, Wendy, and anyone else in the chat?
Do it this time in the chat. Hold on. We go back to it. I don't have the screen opening.
Does everyone understand or agree that there was structural defects in the plea itself? Whether there was coercion?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Do you think that she told Bryan about the hair? What are your thoughts on that? Or do we just not know?
Well, we don't know. But if you're going to take the high road, you could say the following, Bryan, or you could advise your client, and this is just my opinion. Bryan, if I tell you certain facts that I found out of the investigation or in discovery regarding the hair, if I tell you this, okay, this might create a problem for you going to trial, or your rights against me as your counsel for being ineffective. Because Bryan, you know that 68 terabyte dump is impossible to go through. That's number one.
Yeah.
So and I stated to the judge that I was going to be ineffective unless I get the 8-10 weeks, whatever she requested as a postponement, which she didn't get. She got 2 weeks, but she didn't get that. So, and then she flips and says she was effective a couple of weeks later before the judge. But if I tell you this information, you won't be able to use it against me.
Yeah.
Yourself. Okay. And if we go to trial, it's my opinion, they're going to kill you. And I have to look out for your best interest. It's better for you to blame me and save your life.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's, so you could have falling on your sword, but with the understanding that you're saving someone's life. There's, to me, that's honorable.
That is her. That's her primary job, is to save his life.
Yeah. And so would she withhold information? Absolutely. But it's how you present it. It's just like an attorney asking, in my opinion. An attorney could ask somebody, who's about to retain their services, right? And they might ask that person. Now, they might say something along these lines: if you did X, Y, and Z, I won't be able to represent you. But if you did not do X, Y, and Z, I can represent you. Now tell me what happened. So
Mm.
you could shape. I'm not saying that's some people who could deal with it that way, right? And you could put it in terms where they could understand, if you want their involvement or non-involvement, how it has to unfold. So that's just my opinion. I got a little off on the subject, but
No,
yeah.
I think that is that is very possible that she did that. In fact, I think that is exactly what she did.
And don't forget, he's been isolated in a protective custody unit.
Yeah, I mean, he was supposed to be moved, what, after 6 weeks? Or-
Yeah. Well, I don't think that was going to happen. They said, yeah, they would all talk about that. But if he went into general population, if that really would happen, and if that could, I don't think he would, he would make it. Put it that way, with the references of him being a PDF and everything else, the demonization of him. It's as if they
I think
wanted
that's
a.
something that she also discussed with him. Would that play into him
Yeah.
taking that plea? Because remember, it wasn't only at the
Yes.
sentencing that was said. That's been that's been the story all along, even before this was supposed to go to trial. The stalking,
Yeah.
the
They made him an incel, like
insult, predator.
some social outcast that you want to get rid of. That's how they view, that's all
Public
narrative driven.
humiliation ritual.
Yes. And don't forget the governor. He sanctioned the rifle squad getting ready to initiate the death penalty, and it happened in 2025. So you're watching that take shape. You're in a 8x8 cell facing a death penalty that was challenged, right, regarding the methodology and why the death by firing squad was the main method now. So
Yeah, that would scare anybody if they go and take you and show you. I don't know if anybody's seen what that firing squad chair looks like, but it's horrific. That would scare anyone.
imagine if you're Bryan Kohberger's father, and they're telling you your son is going to be riddled with bullets, just like Steve G said. I mean, that is
Yeah,
probably
the way he said, we need to put some holes in him. Wow.
so. Yeah, I mean, I believe what BK said, and his parents, I'm sure, would testify exactly that. And that testimony, I believe, has been recorded if it's been on a phone or a text, if it's going through the Idaho State Prison System. So that's been recorded. So I think independently, because calls are recorded, I would imagine, yeah, they should be. So everything's recorded when people are calling in.
I do believe that his mother, she would have probably advised him to take this plea. Remember, there was the stories from long ago. I think people found some reports where I think when his mother was younger, she advocated against the execution of Ted Bundy.
Okay. So that's why they were trying to tie. I remember there were Bundy.
I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I didn't.
She wrote in. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows about this, but she did. She wrote to the department, Florida, I think it was, and she was very involved in not wanting Ted Bundy to be executed.
Wow. Which is, I mean, okay, I didn't know that, but I mean, that shows you where she would, I mean, asking a mother with that choice, and again, it's a Hobson's choice. It's no choice at all, in my opinion. Do you save your son's life and take a plea knowing you didn't do it, right? Or
Because they were involved in these agreements, right? In the plea agreements, his family.
repeat that again?
They were involved in the plea agreements, correct?
Yes, that's what we understand, right? From his affidavit and from what Turvey was saying, and I forgot what Cyray, but we could, I mean, BK stated that his family would be witnesses. So, and that is a
That's
discussion
interesting. What does he mean when he says they would be witnesses?
so why he would plead guilty. So as a mother, Wendy or anyone in the chat, if you put yourself in his shoes, the parent's shoes, and someone is telling you after watching what has been unfolding in the case, where your son has been demonized wrongfully, been called everything wrong as a social outcast, to demonize him and basically discard him like he's scum. And you watched the judge's rulings and how it's totally unfair on many levels of the evidence. Your son's DNA is not at the crime scene. No blood, no saliva. Talking about hair, skin cells at most. And we don't know how it even gets there because it's a totally different question and answer to that. But you see all that and you have a decision to make. Do you go to trial knowing that Judge Hippler is going to allow everything in to benefit the state in proving its case and probably limit you on cross-examination, which you basically done in the motion to suppress? Knowing that, and that the capital punishment is at the end of it, do you tell your son, go ahead, I'll take the risk if you get riddled with bullets? Or are you going to say, I much rather my son live 50 years in prison?
So I did find this here now. His mother wrote, she wrote, her name is Mary Ann. She wrote a letter to the editor of the Daily News on the 16th of February, 1989. It says here what she wrote. Her letter was an opinion piece reacting to the public execution of Ted Bundy. Instead of defending Bundy's crimes, she criticized the cheering public and questioned the state-sanctioned death penalty. She wrote, in the letter, she questioned the morality of public celebration, which we're seeing here now as well in this case, by the way.
Yes.
And surrounding the execution. Remember when Bundy was executed, they had all those people out and they were saying, roast in hell, the Bundy barbecue, blah, blah. You remember all of that stuff. It was quite a spectacle back in the day.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. There was a lot.
Yes, so she wrote a letter and she said she questioned the morality of public celebrations surrounding the execution and concern over the state taking a human life. She said, what if we become, is the taking of a human life acceptable when the state takes responsibility? I can see her writing that. I could see it.
But then they're trying to attach a Ted Bundy situation to her son. I mean, this is kind of way out there, and how this was even uncovered raises a lot of questions.
I think I did see before that it was that Jonathan Lee investigates. He covered it as well. That's where I first heard about it. And remember, I can see his mother doing this because, well,
okay,
you know how I feel about the death penalty. I don't agree with it, but that's just my choice. I'm not telling anybody else how I feel. So he grew up in a Catholic family, so it would make 100% sense as well that his mother is 100% against the death penalty.
Right.
Not so much the death penalty, but also, like she mentioned, the public cheering of it, and
It's a spectacle, a public spectacle. And they brought back, and I'm just looking into something. Keep in mind, when I say, 50 years behind prison, that's assuming he did it, right? That's assuming he did it. And you basically go that. The point of everything happening and why you would accept a plea is because you have rights post-conviction relief. And not only that, even the Supreme Court would be coming down on IGG anyway. So I am positive, 99.99% positive that Ann Taylor had these discussions, that IGG eventually will be ruled upon by the Supreme Court. That in itself could throw out the case without any post-conviction relief being granted. That could throw out and get him, basically have him walk. Then you have the geofencing. So there's numerous avenues apart from Bryan Kohberger's post-conviction relief independently that could set him free.
yeah.
And so I'm sure they had those discussions because they're coming up in Supreme Court cases in the next year or so. So that's happening now. But back to Bryan, that's why you want to stay alive, because if you went to trial and it's not a trial that we consider fair, you have to understand what happened below is what's going to happen at the trial level. And if you had a jury, when a judge is chastising you as a defense counsel, juries pick up on that and they sense it and they say, oh, wow, she must be doing something wrong. Why did the judge sequester us all of a sudden to talk to that attorney? Why is he looking at Ann Taylor that way? Why is he saying that to her? Why is he overruling her so many times? What is she doing wrong? So there's ways of doing it, and that's not even getting to the evidence, saying, what are you trying to get at, Ms. Taylor? I already addressed this in the motion to suppress. Where are you going? You are not going to go there. I'm not going to allow you to do that. So all of this, the jury is watching potentially, and the jury's certainly going to hear objections and non-objections, and they feed off of how the judge is reacting to the case as well. They're human. So taking a plea and knowing you have the ability to blame Ann Taylor, to blame the judge, to blame the unfairness of his rights being violated, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, and Sixth Amendment, all preserved on post-conviction relief. Why wouldn't you? Okay, that's one. So if it's preserved and you have even additional avenues independently by the Supreme Court that could set you free, I believe that is the better route than putting your life in jeopardy. Because even if, and I looked at, and Jethro, thank you. You're absolutely right on some of this stuff, but I'm pointing out that, yes, usually on death row, there's years of waiting, but the governor could move you up. The governor could actually put you in front of the line. And, is that far-fetched? I mean, there'll be legal challenges, but is it far-fetched? And when do resources run out? When does it state, which is a whole other question. Resources is a pivotal point in a defense case, right? And we didn't even get into these issues. How resources and the ability to have specific resources to defend yourself, whether it's attorneys, testing, experts, and the like. When does that run out? So after trial, if you're convicted and you're facing the death penalty, who is now your death penalty lawyer and what resources do they have, especially if the governor pushes you in front of the line? And you could argue all that, but you've been convicted. So, how many years is it? If the governor wanted to be fair about the death penalty, he wouldn't have greased up that rifle team in 2025. He would have allowed the legislature actually to adopt what is due process, what is reasonable due process if you're going to effectuate or administer the death penalty in your state. So I don't think that's been properly addressed yet. I've not really looked into it so much, but I don't think it's been addressed yet. But Judge Hippler, the way he was ruling on the evidence and on suppression, specifically on suppression, meaning he was being the gatekeeper regarding the feds and the firewall that he was protecting them and exposing a Fourth Amendment violation. That would have carried through, in my opinion. Everyone's entitled. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying what I feel. And I would have put myself in the same position Bryan Kohberger. That's me. Other people could say they're going to go to trial. But knowing that your hands are going to be tied behind your back is something you have to understand would have been present at that trial. And if you would have went to trial after getting the 68 terabyte dump on you, and you would be waiving all the evidence that is exculpatory in there. Okay. And that's what was the trick again, is if you go to trial, you're going to waive all this because there's no way you're going to have time to find it. But
Yeah.
by agreeing to go to trial, you're waiving it. It's the same thing that I'm talking about recusing Judge Hippler now. If you don't recuse Judge Hippler now, seek a motion, and you then amend the pleading and get involved in the case and ignore his conflicts, it will be waived, not only at the PCR state level, but at the federal habeas review.
Mhm.
So all these issues repeat themselves in one shape or form. And to me, it's all about unfairness. And when you see it that way, are you going to proceed in an unfair procedure? Are you going to allow yourself to be subjected to all that, knowing what the outcome's going to be? Because regardless of what we think of Cy Ray or not, I don't think he's wrong when he said 10 out of 10 jurors would find him guilty. Because we could spend a day in another video demonstrating how judges basically present nonverbal and verbal communication that's picked up by the jury and manipulates their view of the case. So, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot a judge does. It could be
Mhm.
biased, it could be bought, whatever you want to say. So I'm comfortable with what Bryan Kohberger did. I think he did the right thing, and he was tricked. There's no doubt. I mean, he's been
Of
tricked.
course.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, of course he was. All right, let's play.
His hair, from what I can tell, I've seen the picture where you can see the hairs in Ethan's hand. So I don't know. It seems kind of like a moot point to me.
Remind people, what do we know about the hair in the hand?
Yeah.
So it was described, he described it as a clump of hair. And I've seen the picture. It was an awful photo, crime scene photo, but I don't know that I would describe it as a clump. But in Ethan Chapin's hand, and Ethan Chapin, of course, is one of the victims, there's maybe it was like 10 or 15 hairs from what I could tell, sort of in his hand. And the hairs were tested by the FBI, and they just compared the DNA against Kohberger's to see if his DNA was on the hairs, and it wasn't. So then they didn't do any more testing, which is, I guess, why some call it like mysterious. Like, whose hair is it? We know it's not Kohberger's, but could it be someone else? Could there be another perpetrator? Could there have been a second person involved? The hairs looked longer to me from what I could tell. And to me, it would just make the most sense that they're probably Xana's hairs. But it seems like Kohberger thinks this could be something.
What a great witness.
You know, that could get
He
him
solved the case.
Why would he have Xana's hair in his hand?
That
What would
makes-
be the reason?
all this BS, it's so crazy. It makes you want to pull out your own hair thinking about what he's saying. This is ridiculous. But what he said, just to go back to a couple of things, parallel proceedings and how the feds could hide evidence. He just said, and I don't know where he's got, that the feds tested. I think they tested one hair. And I
Yeah.
did see a clump of hair. I've seen photos where there is a clump of hair on the ground. I don't know if I saw it in his hand,
Yeah.
but there's just, and there's stuff on the wall and on the bed frame. So, but what he said is actually very critical. And that is, so if you have the ability to test those hairs. If you're seeking justice and fairness, you would test all the hairs, wouldn't you? Or at least you would determine, okay, this set of hairs from one person. Let's test this hair, strands of it, find out whose it belongs to, even if it's not Bryan's. Now, he's saying they didn't test it because it didn't identify with Bryan. So that's like putting the blinders on. But in reality, the feds could have tested it, but they're not telling the state that they tested it. The state only gets information and summaries of what the feds want them to get. And that's the key. And that's what Ann Taylor was trying to get at with the motions to suppress and compel, even with the federal grand jury subpoenas, for example. All of that. But it's the same nonsense that they're pulling. And Judge Hippler allows this firewall to be presented and would have presented the same thing during trial. So Ann Taylor would have the same answers, look foolish, right? Because the judge would say, are you again applying a conspiracy theory here? Or didn't I warn you about that? Anti-Ray, for that matter, or anyone trying to get to that behind that firewall. But the feds could have, and in my opinion, probably did. I'll give it an 80, 90% or higher. They did test the hair. They know who those perpetrators were. And that hair and the blood of unknown male B&D certainly point to at least two other perpetrators. And you have hair that follows along with it.
Yeah,
Who do you think,
it does.
right? Who do you think the hair is? If you're in a fight for your life, you're going to grab anything you can, and the hair is going to be the first thing. So is it not reasonable to conclude that it's a perpetrator that's causing you harm, that you have hair in your hand from after, and you're fighting for your life? So the feds could have tested the hair. They have no obligation, nor can they be compelled by the state to produce that. So I just want to put that in your mind, that the feds have their own, and they could have their own case pending under sealed indictment regarding other perpetrators that we don't even know about. So, Brian Entin is trying to make it seem, oh, well, it's not Bryan's hair. They don't care. They didn't test it. Okay, you don't have to test it. But what about the defense, the right of the defense and Bryan Kohberger to have that hair tested? Because would that have proved an alternative perpetrator? I think it's reasonable to say it would. If you have someone's hair and blood in your hand, or in the area vicinity, but certainly the hair in your hand, on the bed frame, on the wall, next to an unalived body, I think it's reasonable to conclude that person had something to do with the unaliving. But
Of course. So yeah.
So that's where we are with that. So that's with the narrative. They don't want you to see that narrative.
No, of course not. Let's play here.
Trial.
Looking at the early forensic report, it wasn't Kohberger's. It could have been the guy's own hair, by the way.
What?
And I saw at least one report where it was
That would be the easiest thing to prove. Come on.
from the bags covering his hands at
He's saying
the autopsy.
He's saying whose hair there?
He's saying it's Ethan's hair, his own hair. He pulled out his own hair. I mean,
Jeez, why? What's wrong?
yeah, you have Xana and Ethan's hair now between the both of them. Not even suggesting. Well, maybe some people are saying it's a perpetrator's hair. They're not even saying that. They're filling in their own gaps and not even addressing that. Oh my God. So
Jeez.
untrustworthy.
People are crazy.
That they were microscopically consistent with Chapin's own hair. But once they knew it wasn't Kohberger's, they didn't keep looking. And, this is one of the problems with criminal investigations is that the idea is, well, it's the killer's hair. It's just not Kohberger. And that's why he didn't do it, which I have to tell you, with all the serial killers that I've interviewed and all the women who love these absolute scumbag guys, this is the weirdest one for me. Like, why people would gather around this guy. And I have to tell you, I hope these same people read his pleadings, because I will tell you, For a doctoral student in criminology, this guy is not a bright light. And I'm not saying that just to condemn him because of what he did.
Wow.
I would be able to
What an
say, oh, he's a
asshole.
smart guy who did a terrible thing. I'm not seeing it in this pleading. Not only is it a very perfunctory, check the boxes, this is what ChatGPT or some very basic guideline
Wrong.
told me has to be true in order for me to get this
wrong.
overturned. The language, the formation of thoughts, his arguing of his rationale. I don't know if he's medicated or what, but it was really unsophisticated. This thing, the handwriting, I'm a lefty. I have terrible handwriting. I'm going to give him a pass on handwriting. But I mean, it really changed my impression of him intellectually, where I am not impressed, at least by this effort.
Yeah, I mean, I
What
just
does he
wasn't
mean?
impressed by.
What does he mean he's not impressed?
Yeah, he's saying that because he's a PhD student. But see, he's trolling, but I believe BK is also trolling. And why? Why am I saying that now, thinking about it? The fact that he's writing in such a, I have horrible handwriting, probably even worse than BK's. Sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting. It's so bad. But it could be BK trolling. And why do I say that? Don't forget what he was evaluated for. If Chris Cuomo is raising these issues and saying these negative things about a pleading that's filed by someone who may have a disability, right? At least it's been documented. And if the judge took that same view, how it would blow up against the judge, Judge Hippler. You see now. So I'm raising this so we could think about it in different ways. He's not, unless he talks about it, he's not said anything about his autism, the spectrum, or the evaluation that was done. And if they do say it, I want to know what he's going to say about it, because now he's getting into some medical stuff. But I don't know if he's saying that or Bryan Entin says anything now. Let's see what he. And I'm sorry, I didn't want to go off field again, but just certain flags that are being raised when he's saying that, because he's attacking his state of mind, his ability to address and articulate in writing these claims. So I don't know what to make out of it. I found that very unusual. Oh,
So
very, very
strange.
unusual. Yeah, it is strange. So
Yeah, we spoke about the diagnosis a little bit last week as well. Yeah, we did speak about that. Why it's perfectly normal for him to seem a bit detached or stare.
Look, do I think he had? Yes. I also think he's a very bright person. Right.
Yeah,
And I think,
so.
yeah, and writing this, I think it's done. It wasn't done by himself. So Bryan Entin said he was bored and BS bullshit. Right. In my view, again, I could be
He's
wrong.
bored.
Yeah, he's bored. That's all
He's
bullshit.
got to get out. He's got to go do it again.
Yeah. He had counsel was involved in assisting this, in figuring out how to say it where issues of a potential disability was ignored by the judge, Judge Hippler, and will he ignore it again? And then it would blow up in his face. But he didn't bite on that one, I don't think.
Yeah. I agree with you guys in the chat as well. When the way they have spoken about any of his disabilities.
Let me put my glasses on. I'm sorry.
Let's say that as well.
The chat.
Yeah, I mean, you can see these people have never had to deal with somebody who has any kind of condition like that. It's horrible. It's horrible. Even if somebody was guilty or not, you don't remember. Before his diagnosis, they would say he's got these creepy eyes. Or look at his nose, he must be guilty.
Yeah.
They even took shots at the sister and said, yeah, the whole family is weird. They've got those creepy looking eyes. I mean, This is crazy what they did.
Yeah, I mean, they demonized him, and they used a disability or medical condition against him to
Mhm.
vilify him even worse. I mean, at every level, this case has unfairness.
If you look at some pictures of him on thumbnail, you can even see that people went out of their way to make him look like a freak.
Yeah.
And they admitted it. There were some channels. I don't know where it is now. I don't have it with me, but I can't remember who it was. But they actually admitted to altering Brian's photos for their thumbnails. This is to make him look. So why do you need to alter his images? I can't remember whose channel it was on, but they actually admitted to altering the images. I spoke about it quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
They
I've seen those
did
photos.
it. Yeah, they would alter the images, and this is done to brainwash the public. The media is big time involved in this.
Oh, just sickening. It is sickening.
Yeah.
And you're right. The picture, I remember, I like, who is this? It looks like 12, there were 12 pictures in a set out, and every one of them looked different than the other. And it
Mhm.
had nothing to do with age, really. It's just, it was a different person. You could tell it's a different person. Oh my
Yeah.
God. And
Okay,
just,
yeah.
The reasons that
Sorry.
no, go ahead. We're good. You could go ahead.
Okay.
he gave, again, just because everyone seemed to be in agreement that Ann Taylor did a good job for him, and the hairs. I mean, you wish they could test every little thing and we would know exactly who they belong to. And there's a lot of things that we've since found out with the crime scene that weren't tested, and there's blood droplets that weren't tested. It's almost like once they got enough to determine that it was
Oh my
Kohberger,
God.
they
I
kind of
didn't know that.
stopped. But at the end of the day, the DNA on the knife sheath traces back to him. The cell phone records don't
What?
seem to lie, and he admitted it. I mean, I was there the day I was there for the plea deal, and they went through every little question there over and over and over again, and he didn't budge.
Yep, they call it the colloquy, and it's a constitutional safeguard. And the judge went through it thoroughly, if not painstakingly, and he absolutely had counsel all over him, and he was clear-eyed, and he gave his answers all the way through consistently. Is there an
Clear-eyed.
expectation
Full of
among any you're in?
It doesn't look clear-eyed there. I'm still telling you, they heavily medicated this guy. You can see.
Yeah, that is such a stressful position to be in after being, in PCU and being in that position and feeling. I mean, you could almost imagine yourself and how everyone's looking at him and what they're resonating to him. It's not positive. Only good thing is his family's there. But you know what I thought about, just on a side note, and I don't mind to go on a tangent, but I'm
Mhm.
thinking this 68. Okay, I'm gonna make this is speculation on my part, but part of the leaks investigation, what probably happened behind closed doors is that Judge Hippler found that the state did something wrong, and he basically provided, or he got in the middle of defense and the prosecution, saying, I'm going to, what if the state provides all the information that you're requesting, Ann Taylor,
Mhm.
meaning the copies of but they're 68 terabytes, and she agrees to it, because we've seen the hearing itself where she's denied the postponement, but we don't know what happened behind closed doors and how this 68 terabyte dump happened. Now, it could be that they argued, well, we had to gather all this information by the time this is as close, unfortunately, came close to the time of trial, but we provided it. Or was it part of a negotiated deal with the judge saying, you provide this as part of the punishment for leaking information? And the state somehow provided it. Obviously, it required the feds to actually get that information and turn it over. And that's what you have Josh Hurwitz now in the case at that point. So it all came in an unindexed, no metadata form. So which is an impossible thing to go through. So the judge basically said, this is what they did wrong. I'm going to get you all the information you wanted, but I'm not going to give you that time you wanted. And you're going to have to figure out the metadata and organize it and everything else. But I do want to say, under federal rules, Josh Hurwitz in the federal district court wouldn't have been able to get away with an unindexed mass dump like he did. That's illegal to do. So why did he get away with it here? And whether that's a constitutional issue as well, I'm sure is going to be brought up somewhere along the lines, probably on federal habeas if it gets to that point. So I'm just saying, I don't understand how this 68 terabyte dump happened by happenstance. Now, they do have a duty to provide Brady material and Giglio material, but I have a feeling that the judge, in ruling, if there was a ruling on the investigation administratively, somehow that happened. Or he ruled, even if it wasn't the investigation, that he ruled, that he somehow ruled to have that information provided prior to trial in some capacity that we don't know. It's because it's sealed. And there's so much sealed left. Sealing of documents. So sorry.
Contact with that this will be successful?
Most of the attorneys in Idaho I've talked to and the victims' families' attorneys who I've been in touch with all seem to be on the same page that they think it's going to fizzle out, but that it's going to take. The latest thing I heard yesterday, now that he was just assigned a lawyer, that it could be 4 to 5 months before something else happens. Well, perhaps he gets a hearing. So they don't think it's just going to like immediately go away, but almost everyone I've talked to doesn't believe that it will progress. There's one defense witness who I interviewed. It's a really kind of interesting situation. His name is Cy Ray. And he was hired by the defense to go over all the cell phone records. He's retired former law enforcement, and that's what he specializes in. And it's kind of interesting. So he was on the defense team, and he saw everything.
He mostly specializes in cooking.
They love Cyrus now, especially because he's the
Remember
one.
When they didn't like him, in the beginning, when he said that this was a miscarriage of justice and that Bryan wasn't even in Moscow.
Yeah.
Then they didn't
all these
like
errors.
him. Then he was a conspiracy theorist.
Conspiracy theorist to now, now he's playing, which in my opinion, it doesn't matter. Cy Ray actually helps BK, no matter what he says about BK, because at the PCR level, whether he's in the house or not is irrelevant to the issues of the PCR claim so far. So ultimately, innocence could be something, but Cy Ray's opinion of him, BK, being in the house,
on the roof.
Yeah, on the roof. Naked. There's so many things here.
Running around with his butt cheeks out in a mask.
The state's own expert saying, yeah, he was naked, unaliving people.
Wow.
Hands full.
Is Cy Ray the one that saw him? Was he there? Did you see him running there with his butt cheeks and the knife cheeks?
He's holding He's holding his chili dog in there. Where's JJ? Oh man. And the knife sheath. Unbelievable.
Everything. I mean, he did the cell phone records analysis, but he got access to pretty much to everything that they had. And he's seen a lot that we haven't been able to see that's still sealed. And it's kind of strange because he was on the defense team, but he now says that he thinks that Kohberger did it, but he thinks that Kohberger should get a new trial. And the reason I bring this up is because you're asking, like, does anyone think that it'll go through? He does, because he believes, which I think this is far-fetched, but look, he was on the inside. He believes that this was a plan with Ann Taylor, the attorney, and that Ann Taylor, as he says, that is going to fall on the sword, that Ann Taylor is going to somehow admit that there is some kind of evidence that she by mistake didn't tell Kohberger about. And he believes this is like a master plan that they had ironed out even before the plea deal. I don't buy that. I mean, I trust Cy, and again, he was on the.
He talks. I trust Cy because he's my chummy.
Yeah, no, that's the big Amish theory.
Operation GCD is back. He's like, did somebody say chili dogs? Yes, we did.
Yes. But Bryan, see, at the end, if there is going to be an evidentiary hearing, right? The judge, or if there's not an evidentiary hearing and you're going to do it on affidavits, he's going to make a ruling. He still has to credit witnesses. Now, what's interesting in Cy Ray and Brent Turvey, so let's say Brent Turvey is going to give a certain affidavit or testimony, right? That's helpful for BK. Cy Ray, you might think, is on the opposite end. He wants BK to not have his plea vacated, but I don't see it that way. I see where he could actually do two things. One, he could believe that BK's guilty, but yet provide evidence of the illegal actions of the FBI, withholding evidence, and the impact of the defense team, and impact of the 68 terabytes dump on Ann Taylor, and anything else that helps BK. So now, as a judge, you have testimony of someone who's a guilter, and you have someone who's a pro Bryan, right? Turvey and Cy Ray. No matter who you pick to credit testimony, and you could credit both of them, BK wins because it's about vacating the plea. You see how by doing that, they're creating a problem for the judge, because if the defense team isn't getting along, that's also an issue for ineffective assistance of counsel. Because if there was a bias known to Ann Taylor and she didn't disclose it, of Cy Ray believing BK's guilty, that's a violation of the Sixth Amendment. Those are BK's rights, not Ann Taylor's, not Cy Ray's, not Brent Turvey, but they're all talking about how their duties as an expert to analyze the case and to assist the defense was affected in the different ways in their books, in their public statements, what have you. And we even hear about new evidence. So Cy Ray getting these the LCD. He basically says he reviewed. Now, how did he get this information? Was it in the terabyte dump? Did he have it before? I don't know. But on one hand, I don't care. All I know is that BK's rights have been violated no matter who you look at. And the judge has to pick somebody to credit as a witness. Right? And the same thing goes for Wickham. Wickham comes in after the fact, and he said he reviewed stuff that we don't even know about. Okay, well, how did he do it? His top secret security clearance? Makes sense. But what was he been privy to? And if he's been privy to it, has BK been privy to it, or and Ann Taylor, or Ann Taylor not telling BK? Again, something that could be helpful for BK. And Wickham also describes the crime scene.
Yeah, he did.
And after reviewing all this information and pictures. So now he becomes a fact witness after the fact, after the plea. He's now a fact witness on all this information that he reviewed and can render this opinion. Now, does he have to do it as an expert, or could he do it as a layperson? Because he wrote a book about it. So he's a hybrid witness. He's not an expert. He doesn't have to be retained to give his opinion on what he reviewed. It's all in his book. And he could probably say a lot more than what's in his book once he's subpoenaed to testify, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's very important, I think, for people to understand, not to get caught up in what we think of an individual. Think of how that individual could help BK vacate the plea.
Oh, I think he
That's-
can. Yeah, I think just by what he's saying, if you watch that interview, because we did cover that interview where he was there, and yeah,
But you see my point, right? I mean, I
oh,
hope,
yeah, because he actually said things in that interview with Brian Entin and Steve and Olivia that it's almost like he's deliberately trying to help Brian.
yeah, we even see that with Steve G talking about Hitler being involved in the plea negotiations. He pushed that's his own words. We don't have to believe it, but it gives a reasonable basis for BK to vacate the plea, or at least to show that there is a biased judge. And if that's true, it doesn't have to be true. Just a reasonable belief that Judge Hitler was involved in the plea negotiations brings him in as a witness. He can't sit on this. He's a witness. He's a party witness to the plea. He can't sit now as the judge in which he's going to be a witness. Just can't do it. It's a violation of the confrontation. He's a witness. He can't sit as a judge and as a witness at the same time. It's a constitutional law issue. Doesn't happen. It's reversed if he ever tries to attempt that. So I believe Hitler was being what he could do. He had to allow this PCR to be scheduled. And now we're going to see his recusal and disqualification motion coming in the next 2 weeks. That's what I believe is happening.
Yeah, keep an eye on that.
Inside, but I don't know. I think it's a little far-fetched, but that is one theory that I've heard that's out there.
Summer's here. If you want to actually feel confident, less bloated, more energized, not just look like it on the my gut, everything changed. Digestion, skin. Why? It's just worked for so long. If it's prepared the right way, colostrum works that is ethically 79% experienced less bloating and inflammation. 72% had improved digestion. 62.
Why do we have to listen to this? Less bloating.
Sounds like he had a few chili dogs.
Oh, wow.
2% even saw fuller, thicker hair. For a limited time, our listeners get up to 25% off their entire order. Just head to Cowboy Colostrum, that's COLOSTRUM.com/Cuomo. Use the code Cuomo at checkout. That's 25% off when you use the code Cuomo at cowboycolostrum.com/Cuomo.
You can trust him and he can be wrong, right? Those two things can be consistent, true at the same time. And if she withheld evidence from him, is that grounds? Not necessarily. Why? Because the standard is a gross violation, a gross injustice, okay? This would mean that it was something that he wasn't told about that was also hidden from the process, which is not the case with anything. So it would be, even if she didn't tell him, it was dealt with in the trial. It was meaningful and or not. And so there are two levels of scrutiny. One is she didn't tell you. Okay. She didn't tell you, and it never came out anywhere else? Yes or no? Okay. So let's say no, it never came out anywhere else. Okay. So she never told you, it never came out anywhere else. And in the judge's reckoning, it would have been material to your defense.
There you go.
That is a very high bar. And it most likely fails and almost always fails. And Idaho's own presidential record shows that this very rarely succeeds. And the idea that he was somehow cheated, deceived, really is what this is usually about, or a materiality change, meaning that someone else confessed. So now I don't want to take the deal anymore because I only took it to avoid the death penalty, which, by the way, is the thing that informs my agreement with you most, which is that this is him just trying to be relevant again. And although he doesn't get moved during this period, he sits inside and he rots like everybody else who's trying to get an appeal going or a habeas corpus when they're in there. So he doesn't get to go anywhere else. But I agree with you, but for one thing that is a little strange. He took the deal because he didn't want to die. He didn't want the death penalty. Really, that's the only reason, really, for him to have taken the deal. Why would you now want to change your plea and go and have the death penalty back on the table?
It's for anyone, even someone with great hair who wants even better hair, someone wanting to regrow their hair fast.
Yeah,
Well,
because
I obviously don't know exactly why he took the deal, and yes, I think you're.
You see that they're talking about it now.
yeah, a life behind bars in a PCU or however he's being handled is not pleasant at all. And that's what his words. He was tricked regarding prison life, basically. So why not? If
Yeah.
Jethro pointed that out, if you feel that you're going to be living behind bars,
Mhm.
it's not a good place to be. So, but that's part of it. But certainly the death penalty and why that wasn't removed off the table, that's pressure, because the judge had the ability to remove the death penalty, from being involved in the trial phase. Well, after the trial in a separate phase, but so he had that ability. Judge Kipler kept it, and obviously that creates pressure. And it would have been a whole different scenario. Then, if you didn't have the death penalty, I would agree. Then, if you want to take chances, at least then you have a different scenario. You're not in a much more different place than you are now. It's just your appellate, and you would have basically the same avenues. In my
Mhm.
Not exactly, but similar. You wouldn't have waived appellate rights. But don't forget, I keep saying the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court is going to be ruling on IGG and geofencing. And I believe one of the two, at the very least, is going to be positive for Bryan. So don't lose sight of that the SCOTUS is going to come in and rule on IGG and genealogy in a separate case, but would have the impact, whether IGG required search warrants in order to use that, because they used it for the probable cause and developing probable cause. So, and you have the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine that would knock out all the rest of the evidence, basically, that places them there. So,
Mhm. Just a comment here, Peggy asked, was there a fifth victim? Well, just to touch on it, and we'll do a video on this. We believe, I think Big Amish agrees with me, my belief is that crime did not happen in the house. That's the first thing. And also that there were several, if I'm correct in my theory, I'm still busy with it, is there were several victims outside of that house, undocumented victims, as you mentioned. Do you want to go into that a little bit, Big Amish?
I'm sorry, I was trying to type and I was. Could you
No,
say that
fine.
again? I got carried away with my thought here. I was trying to text
We got a few minutes before I have to wrap up, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got like about 10 minutes left. But there were several victims because this didn't happen in the house.
Yes.
It couldn't have happened in the house. And if you look into what was going on outside, the fight that Banfield stopped, yeah, I'm not even going to say a fifth. I'm going to say probably several.
Well, there were news reports, at least initially, that there was a fifth victim who was brought to the hospital.
There was a news report that there was a fifth victim that was taken to the hospital. We don't know who that is.
Well, didn't Steve G go to the hospital that evening?
He did, yeah. I remember he had some
Interesting.
condition. Yeah.
Yeah, they try to. I'm in the same camp with you describing, because I think, okay, if not all of them, there's at least one or more, in my opinion, that were unalived outside of that house.
Yeah.
All right, it's somewhere else and brought. There's not enough blood. There's certain blood in certain areas. Okay, that could account. Maybe one did happen there. I don't know, but it certainly is not the type of crime scene we have at least been known to see on multiple unalivings. Even in one unaliving, you could see so much red.
Yeah. No, that's wrong. I mean, you don't see evidence of anything that really happened in that house. But you and I have, I think we need to have a better look into that with the those Nepalese students.
Yes. Now you have a crisis in Nepal, and the University of Idaho has an interesting student body consisting of Nepalese that makes up their third largest international student body. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And there's something we want to talk about in a future show, but there's certainly connections to Nepal with even some of the students involved with the victims and their family members. So something to certainly talk about and follow up on, Wendy. You're right.
Yeah, that's and would there be documentation of those victims, Big Amish? No. They're undocumented. A lot of those students are just to touch on it briefly. I think what are they, exchange students?
They're exchange students. They could also, I've not dug in as much, but they're exchange students, international students. They're recruited. Some of them recruited. How they get to the University of Idaho is very interesting, and the doorway, the mechanism. Some of it could be considered, doing some good for individuals who probably wouldn't have an education. But could there also be a negative side to this? Something we want to explore. And why is the University of Idaho so interested in Nepal and Nepalese students? And also, do some of them actually get involved in the ROTC program? So there's a lot of questions. I don't know how much.
What is the ROTC program?
It's basically a program where they provide students sign up, and they to officer training and cadet training to get into the military. Now, it's my understanding that international students, they can't technically sign up for to the ROTC because they're international students. However, there's a backdoor, just like everything else. And it's not just Nepalese for that matter, that you could, as a student, take the basic courses in the first 2 years. So you basically take these courses. And then after your second year, I believe there's a mechanism in which you have standing to then file to become, get a visa that would allow you into the program. So that's how I remember it. I could be off on a little, but that's how I remember it. So these
Yeah,
foreign-
Jethro said, yeah, I'd be interested in Steve's phone records of 2022. I think everybody wants to. That is something that I find odd. Normally they would. I mean, they're not there in Idaho, right? I mean, in Moscow, fine. But why didn't they go that night to go and see what happened with their daughter? Who did they phone? Yeah, I'd also like to see his phone records.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
he did. He did have something that was affected his skin. I don't know if it was the face and ears. You're quite right about that. Raw Troyster, sorry. But then in the video, you remember that first interview? You don't see any of that. He didn't have any marks on his face or anything. But then I also heard that he was taken to the hospital for a head injury. So I don't know which story is true.
Yeah, we really don't know. His phone record, yeah, we really don't know.
What we do know is that they didn't go there, which in itself is very strange.
Yes, not to go to your door. I mean, that is very suspicious. Why? But I mean, if he had his medical condition, that would explain it. But we don't know. We don't know the phone records. His phone records would be very relevant, especially since he was with her. It seemed Kaylee at least Friday when she sold her vehicle. Oh, there's so much to this. So much. But
Yeah, wow. Okay, let's play this piece.
And go and have the death penalty back on the table.
Well, I obviously don't know exactly why he took the deal. And yes, I think you're probably right. He didn't want the death penalty. But I've also wondered if there was something else at play with his family. He's very, very close to his mom. And I just wondered if he wanted to not spare them a trial, and also spare them from having to testify. There was a lot of, they were going to have to testify. They were on the Amazon account, who bought the knife, all of that. So that kind of crossed my mind. I always just got this vibe with Kohberger, like the only person he really loved and that he felt love back from was his mother. And I just wondered, like, was there something there that caused him to say, I don't want to continue to put them through it and have to see her up on the stand? But then I've heard other people say, look, he's just like a selfish, sociopath, and he wouldn't really care that much about his family. So I don't know. I wonder too, like control. And he had a lot of
these people are too much. He loves his mommy, but he's a sociopath. Wow.
anyone who loves their mom.
Yeah, he loved his mom. He must be guilty as hell. Execute him immediately. Go, just move. You can't love your mommy.
Yeah, it's a prime factor for serial unalivers. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Telltale sign. Love their mommy. Wow. But you can see here how he seems very underfed, right? See how the images of him change even in this video?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have seen. You're right. You're absolutely right. That is like, yeah, he certainly looks unfair. Yeah. Stressed out. And Yeah, that photo is very illustrative of probably what he's going through. But
Yeah.
he's not looking at the, he's not looking at the, well, I don't know if he's ever looked at the judge, but he's keeping eye contact away. But I would like to know from the judge how often the judge looks at him.
I think we'd see that when we look at that that hearing. I think he did. Yeah. Oh wow, the chat's got some interesting questions here. Did Steve order this on Maddie? Yeah, that's a very, very interesting. I've seen people talk about that. I would not. I don't know.
What was it about, Maddie? Or
So, Top Carrie B said, did Steve order this hit on Maddie and was present, the fifth victim? Yeah, yeah. Is Steve the fifth victim?
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yes, yeah, that's
Because somebody was taken to the hospital. I mean, yeah, that is very interesting.
and why, if there's law enforcement, feds, or joint task force officers in the area trying to, and also the recording. If we remember, I remember someone, or there was rumors circulated that one of the neighbors or someone was videotaping during that time. Do you remember something along those lines?
What was
Taking
that?
I remember there's, I gotta go. Yeah, it's just something I remember being discussed way back when, that there was a video of these events. Never saw it, but I remember that caught my attention. Anyway,
Which video was it, Big Amish?
well, it wasn't a video. It's never been there was rumors about either one of the neighbors or a student group videotaping 1122.
Yeah, they said it was a group of photographers outside the house. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, where did that come from? That's like a left field. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but we certainly don't have a
I've
privy.
heard about that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if anybody in the chat remembers that story. So there was a group of students that was filming something. It was a project or something like that.
And those whoever was videotaping, to your point about others being involved or harmed, it could very well be those individuals who are videotaping.
Yeah. Whatever happened to them?
And exposing whatever was happening inside. So, yeah, this is catching me. Yeah, it's very interesting. Anyone has information on that? That's just another lead just to look up.
You remember those 4chan posts, and I know somebody in the chat will probably know about them. That was people that also spoke about this whole incident being recorded. The whole crime was recorded, apparently.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, that's.
And
how
there were 400 people that paid $6 each to a Venmo account.
Oh, so there's. Oh, now I get. Oh, wow, now I get it, and that makes more sense. Right?
Yeah.
How the Venmo payments to someone watching these unalivings, and
Yeah.
why the tripod would be there under a pretext of a club, or however you said it, Wendy.
Oh, thank you, Lola and Tony. Yes, there was a tripod. They said they had no obligation to submit their video, and it was reported. Okay, I don't know about what was on the video. But
But the relationship.
Alicia says that Pete talks about that a lot. Yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Oh, okay.
Alicia.
I'll ask.
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe ask him. I haven't seen that on
Definitely.
specifically on him, but I've heard about it, those posts. And then remember in the beginning when Ann Taylor asked for an extension and then she said she actually had to she mentioned something about needing to look at over 400 witnesses, because I remember Nancy Grace still reported on it and she said 400. Who are the 400 witnesses? How can there possibly be 400 witnesses? It did come up because Nancy Grace even spoke about it on her show. She said, what is 400 witnesses?
Well,
How can there possibly be 400 witnesses?
the corner club, the grub truck,
Yeah.
and the people who at Sigma Chi, at the parties that they were all at, all of that
Mhm.
probably is about right. There's 400 potential witnesses. At least she has to do her job. She would have to follow all the leads and talk to people, or have investigators talk to them. But that makes sense. That
Yeah,
night.
Graham said there was supposedly a club filming in front of the back of the house, 8 p.m. to 8. That's what I also heard. And yeah, we don't know where this was filmed. Peggy, I believe it was near that Banfield stop. Because remember the police pulled those 4 guys over? Do you remember that big Amish?
Yes, I do. I remember that was very weird in itself, because they didn't have any alcohol on them, but maybe he was just inquiring. It was just a weird stop from what I remember.
Yeah. Oh, RJ said yes. Anne said she had nearly 400 witnesses in courts. Yeah, I remember hearing about that very long ago. So, okay, thanks for confirming that. Because, yeah, Jeff, that's what I'm saying. We're not now believing it. It's true. People do this. People do this weird stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real and it's big money. It's huge money. There's like 400 reasons to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. You're not kidding. It's a sick, but yeah, it's big money. You're right. There was a movie about that. What was it? A long time. I don't know how many years ago. 20 years. 8mm, about snuff films. That's the name of the movie. 8mm, I think.
Yeah, Tony said, yeah, 400 people on their phones. Look, I don't know. I mean, they weren't obviously at the scene, but imagine. So who paid? How did those people pay $6? And then we see that number 6 come up. Remember, I told you, you see another ritual element come up here.
Interesting. Yep.
Why $6? So that was strange, because why would you charge $6? So often you'll see with people when they film these kind of things, they'll choose a number like that because it's very triggering.
Wow.
So they would deliberately choose that number to show that they've actually committed this crime and that they're part of the ritual.
Yeah. That's their code. Yep. That sounds.
So if you ever wonder with people, I mean, when you talk about 400 people, those people don't have to even be in the United States. They could be anywhere else. I'm not saying it did happen like that. This is just all like for speculation, entertainment purposes. I'm not saying it's real. I have to say that. But yeah, this is the thing, if people were going to commit a crime like that, so those people that are part of it and agree to it, and I'm not saying specifically in this case, but it could be any case, right? And they're going to pay. They could live stream it anywhere in the world. If you guys know, there was that whole, I think it was 765 cult, and they were on Discord, right? And they streamed this kind of stuff to people all over the world. Even when the Fed stepped in apparently and took them down, they're still running to this day.
Yeah, I think if they take down one and allow 20 others to flourish.
So, I mean, this could be sent to anyone. And a lot of people wonder with an incident like that, how do these people communicate? They use signs, they use symbols. So often they have to commit some kind of crime themselves, and then they get allowed in. Because obviously they're not going to just let anybody watch. Because I remember somebody said, okay, if there is footage, why doesn't someone just go onto the web and find it? But it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So before you would be able to view something like that, you would have to commit a crime that's fairly similar or worse and send them proof of the crime you committed, and then they're going to show you. So nobody's going to come forward and just say, you know what, I watched this happen. I watched this happen, because they've committed a worse crime themselves. So, I mean, that is one possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, they have their own gatekeepers.
Yeah, and they can communicate, because if you think of these big cults that distribute this kind of material all over the world, you wonder, okay, but everybody speaks a different language, right? And I think it was the 765, I could have the numbers wrong, it was the 765 cult. I mean, and these people, so
keep talking. Give me 1 minute. I'll be right back. Keep talking. Go ahead.
So Jeff, it's not, it's not that far fetched. A lot of these people, right? When I was looking into that a bit, so there was a girl on Discord, and her father came in while somebody was trying to get her to harm herself, and the father tried to intervene, and this guy even threatened the father. That's how they don't care. They really don't care. They're not scared. Yes, Peggy, you're right. There's actually footage of that. If you take the images and the videos that we shown, I don't know how to do it because I don't have the program for it. But a lot of people, Jeff, maybe you should look into this. They start stripping away the pixels, then you can actually see other people in that street, and you can see a lot of people standing around with their phones, a lot of people filming using their phones. So I also heard that, again, I'm not saying it did happen, but a lot of people filming it, and yep. So it's, yeah, you're right. 762. I didn't know if it's 762 or 765, but that was pretty bad. You remember they caught that guy, and then what happened was, I think he got 8 years or something. It was wild.
Yeah,
It was really crazy. Oh, I'm the gosh. Yeah, that was a really sick story. I know a lot of people have covered that story. I haven't looked at it for a long time, but it was a little while back. Inside the darkest human trafficking cult in the world, basically. And it was some young guy that was running it. Out of his yeah, he was at home. He was in the basement in Australia or something like that, if I recall. Crazy.
Well, since you raised up the human trafficking, Nepalese are one of the targeted groups.
Hmm.
And I think Idaho but just the attack on the vulnerabilities of people who are in crisis and how they're exploited. So there's a crisis in Nepal, and you're going to see, in my opinion, you're going to see many nations giving resources to assist, at least some. But there's also the dark side to this, is that with these crises come opportunities to these evil people who are going to be preying on people. And sadly, they're going to be preyed upon in a way where they are going to be trafficked. They're going to be told they're going to be helped when they're in
Yeah.
such a vulnerable position. Think about that. We all know when we're vulnerable, but there's actually organized crime syndicates and even governments involved in this. And I'm
Yeah,
not.
they said it was something like up to, what I heard was up to 1.5 million of Nepalese are, well, I would say, sorry, my words, they're vulnerable to trafficking. And this is because of, they have extreme poverty, they don't have economic opportunities. So yeah, there's a lot there. Especially they say with the women and girls, they are targeted for exploitation.
Yeah, all I know, I remember, is the Haitian crisis back in the, they had their problems in Haiti, and how, I don't know if I should mention a politician, a very high level politician, a former presidential candidate and spouse of a president. Their, I don't know if it was a spokesperson or assistant, let's just say an assistant, aide, was caught trafficking 30 young girls in a bus. I wonder where they were going under similar crisis of Nepal. I just raise it because I remember that, and that stuck with me to no end. And I said to myself, wow, here are politicians even asking for money to assist in the crisis. Yet these individuals, young children, are being exploited. Young girl. I mean, I just found it. And she was charged. I guess she was eventually let go. I forgot what it was, and they were trying to make. But you don't hear much about it. But I remember watching that, and from then on, I had a different view of when crises happen, and you see politicians come on or others trying to raise money, but that money could be a facade for something so evil. I don't want to think about it.
Jeez.
So
Hectic. Well, we're going to look into it. Okay, let's play this. Last
sorry.
video. No. Please don't be sorry.
I think he liked being in control during the whole legal process, and I think it gave him control, like having the plea deal in a way, and not having to confess. And I wonder if now, like, this whole trying to get an appeal is almost a way of him like feeling like he's in control again, like he has some control over the process, if that makes any sense. And that's why I wonder, even if this fizzles out 6 months, a year from now, however long it takes, do we see him go quiet for a while, and then do we see him pop up again trying to get control in some other way, whether that be releasing some little nuggets about what he did, about motive, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's a control thing.
I think that's a sound understanding, and I think it's to be expected, because this is going to be a very, very spare existence for him. And that will be maddening for a malignant narcissist, which is how he is viewed by most clinicians. Hey, thank you for watching. I post clips like this every day. So you can just subscribe and you'll get more without even having to think about it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's get after it.
I've never heard of that before.
Sorry, what did he?
Hey guys, in today's episode, I like to share with
malignant narcissist.
Sorry,
is what he
you were
called
saying.
them. Chris Cuomo called him a malignant narcissist. I've never heard of that expression.
Yeah. Where does he come with that?
And he had a definition towards the end, but I've never heard. I don't know. But again, it's the demonization. And he's saying if he comes out, basically get him. All right. And Bryan Entin suggesting he's going to walk and then give nuggets. Well, if those nuggets, I'm going to make a prediction. If that does happen, the nuggets are that he was involved as a federal asset of some sort. There was a federal operation. That's just my belief. But having said that,
it's very possible. I think so.
But the judge had every opportunity. If you wanted to secure that BK stays in jail, all you had to do is give an allocution. Just the knife. Tell us where the knife. How did you use the knife? Describe it. Describe what you did to the one victim, at least, just one. And the judge, yeah, it's not required. I get it. Okay, but in this case, I don't think has there ever been 4 unalivings or even one in which the judge doesn't require an allocution. I doubt it. This isn't like robbing a grocery store or a bank. Right?
No.
I mean, this is so ridiculous. So the judge knew that by not allocuting, again, a de facto Alfred plea, in my opinion, which is also unconstitutional because they're going behind the legal requirements, could have solved it all. And the judge knew it. But because he was conflicted and he wanted this case over, and everyone was coerced, I mean, you basically have a cluster F, if you know what I mean, happening at the same time. But the judge could have resolved it all by just one. Just one allocute. Tell us what happened to one victim.
Anything. Even tell us something that the media hasn't put out there. Something that only the perpetrator knows. Anything.
Yes.
They never asked for anything like that.
No. Where did you put your mask? Anything. I mean, come on. Tell us one thing that he would know.
Were your butt cheeks cold running around naked in the snow?
That's right. We didn't know. Could you tell us your, detail to cleanliness? How he was able to.
Didn't want to get his clothes dirty, guys. That's why he took his pants off, because he didn't want to get anything on his clothes. He had to run through naked.
Yeah, he had OCD for cleanliness. I mean, this is
OCD. I'm going to go commit a murder, so I'm going to take my pants off. And,
yeah, just in case I'm on TV, I'll do that.
Yeah, I'm going to take my pants off and fold them neatly, put them in the car, and I don't want to dirty my pants. My mommy's going to smack me.
Yeah, that was funny. The video you played once with the guy doing a reenactment of taking his clothes.
Oh, that guy with you guys must go look at Mark B's channel.
I remember
that. I haven't heard from him for quite a while. Yeah, but he showed how he would have had to undress, but he didn't do like a naked strip.
No, but taking the overalls, he had coveralls and gloves, and that was a very good demonstration.
That was funny. Jethro, you're right. Don't ruin them. Yeah, next time. Yeah, but the way you put that with him running with the coveralls and everything, where did that story come from? I can't get it out of my brain. Him running naked. Somebody said he was streaked through the house.
That was the state expert. So after
what?
Yeah, that was
Really?
the state expert who was trying to. So it was a she. I'm trying to remember her name. So she provided a report. I think Turvey, but she provided a report, and she was the one who also gave a report in regards to the dilution of the blood being saliva. And I don't remember the whole.
Oh,
I got to go
yes,
look
I
back into it.
remember.
But that's a state expert who said he was naked, could have committed them by taking his clothes off. So,
I've heard a lot of things, but that's wow. I mean, where would he put the clothes? Do you know how much time? Like, I mean, so did he leave his apartment like that and then drive naked to the, no, man.
you know what it reminds me of, and I don't mind going off on a tangent. It's in a way, just think about how it doesn't. It just blows common sense out the window, especially if you think someone did it. But think of Tyler Robinson, where they said he basically changed clothes to go on the roof, right? About whatever he did, takes a gun apart, puts it back together again, takes a shot, right? That when you're putting the scope on, you would think it's going to be out of alignment, but assuming it's perfectly aligned, which it's impossible because you have no way of doing, factoring that in. But then takes his clothes off, disassembles the gun, jumps, and puts the gun together again before he flees and puts it in a box or whatever he did in that neighborhood under some bushes. So it's the same thing in a way, but I think BK is much more extravagant, where you're committing all these unalivings and
Wow.
and
And
it's
remember, I mean, but they say that, but in the same breath, they say he was self-conscious when they posted all those selfies of him. So which is it?
yes,
Self-conscious, naked, sterile.
it's right. According to no motive. We have no motive. Never been to the house before.
You're wrong. He had a motive. He wanted to streak.
Yes, yes. Oh,
Oh, wow, these people.
and speaking of Thompson is one. So he's the attorney, and I guess there's this other gentleman by the name of Skoll. But Thompson is the attorney representing the state for the BKPCR, who's the one who said we didn't want to allocute because all he's going to do is lie. So he's a witness himself.
Yeah,
To
of
what
course.
BK? I mean, all this is all going to, I honestly, I can't think of a more train wreck than this case. This is unfolding. It really is. And I hope nothing happens to BK, because that's what I get a sense of all these interviews and people saying stuff that they know he's going to walk out of this, and that they want some harm to happen to him. That's sad and sick. Because
Yeah.
even if he did do it, let him at least have a fair trial. That's all we ever ask. And I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying, even if you, and I would assume anyone in that position, you would want the person responsible, at least responsible in the eyes of reasonable people, or as a victim's parent. You may want revenge, but make sure it's the right person, because you'll be doing the same thing that happened to your child by just agreeing to an unaliving of someone else because you feel they did it without proof. So very hard. This is a very hard case to understand and feel.
It is, because there's so many moving pieces in it.
Yes.
Wow.
But you have to ask yourself, why is Thompson even involved? So I believe, I'll go back to my prediction. I believe there's something happening behind the scenes, and not to save everyone's reputation. I mean, Ann Taylor has taken a big hit, but it's the best way of trying to solve the problem, in my view. And that's what I look at analyzing this, that Thompson's involved because he knows that he's the one who has to sign off on agreeing to a stipulation that there was a Brady violation. So I strongly feel that's what's happening, Could be wrong, but that's what I feel is happening. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I believe that certainly is in the works. And just like that recusal that's coming up. So,
Yeah, well. Oh, Peggy, sorry, I typed that wrong. Yeah, I've also seen that. That's interesting. We did speak about before we sign off the Garmish. We talked about the Charlie Kirk case, and Peggy said about Erica. Yep, I don't trust any of them. There's so much stuff going on.
yeah, no. Well, I know I'm going to be going soon, so I gotta.
Yeah, me too. I probably have to wake up in 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm so you're. I apologize. You're right. I kept you this time.
No. I enjoy our live chats.
Yeah.
I wish we had more time.
Yes. And the chat is great as well. Yeah, unfortunately we don't, but you're right. It is very enjoyable, especially with you. You make everything so.
You too, Big Amish. Thank you so much. And the chats, of course, because they're very entertaining. I love the chat always because the stuff they come out with, wow, I love it. Scully, I don't know how he does it. Well, he does doze off sometimes, but he'll go 11 hours. And wow. So I mean, look, and he keeps it going for 11 hours. He's pretty good with that.
I don't know how he does it. Maybe in my youth I could have done it a lot, but I'm nowhere there. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you, everyone. But we'll see you. We'll probably see you hopefully before next week. We might come with something as these updates.
Yeah, 100%. Look forward to it. We'll have some more interesting angles on what's happening. How about that? We'll work on the Nepalese angle or anything else.
Thank you so much, Big Amish.
Yeah. Thank you, Wendy.
Sharing all your knowledge with us. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone in the chats. We really appreciate you guys.
Yes. Everyone. Would I miss Peggy?
I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Yep. Bye now. Great weekend as well.
Love you guys. Love to all of you. Thank you, Big Amish. Thank you, Chance.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.